Kenton Mark.
Welcome to Kenton Mark. In this video we will explore the origin of Christianity in Africa from a biblical perspective through research and a lens of school of thought. Through this lens we will bring to light the first individuals and kingdoms of Africa to embrace the foundation of Christianity and its widespread throughout the continent. During the time of ancient Palestine, after being martyred and crucified on a cross in Golgotha, located just outside of Jerusalem, Jesus Christ died, was then wrapped in clean linen cloth, buried in a sealed tomb, and days after was resurrected. Eyewitnesses' accounts of his resurrection was Mary Magdalene, Mary, the earthly mother of Jesus, and the 12 disciples, and many others. The Apostle Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 15:68, after that he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers and sisters at the same time, most of whom are still living, though some have fallen asleep. Then he appeared to James, then to all the apostles, and last of all he appeared to me also, as to one abnormally born. What began with just 12 disciples carrying forth Jesus Christ's gospel, meaning the good news, the coming of our Heavenly Father's only begotten Son to atone for the sins of mankind through salvation. It has grown worldwide to 2.4 billion Christian believers. Amongst all continents, Africa has the largest Christian population in the world, approximately 49% of the continent's population, with Muslims forming approximately 42%. Currently, the majority of Christian population resides in Central Africa, Southeast Africa, and Southern African nations. Based on Statistica.com in 2020, Christians account for approximately 60% of the sub-Saharan African population. In absolute terms, there are approximately over 680 million Christians in Africa, with approximately 52 million residing in Ethiopia, 63 million in Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the highest population of Christians are in Niger at over 75 million. From the very beginning, the Bible mentions people and places of Africa. Genesis 2:10-14 says, "A river watering the garden flowed from Eden. From there it was separated into 4 headwaters. The name of the first is the Pishon. It winds through the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. Aromatic resin and onyx are also there. The name of the second river is the Gihon. It winds through the entire land of Cush. The name of the third river is the Tigris. It runs along the east side of Asher. And the fourth river is the Euphrates." The land of Cush refers to the ancient Egyptian realm of Cush, which included the same region which now is occupied by southeastern Sudan. Along with Egypt, Ethiopia has also been mentioned countless amount of times throughout the Old Testament of the Bible. Other significant figures in African presence in the Bible also includes Abraham, who is deemed as our early father of faith and of all believers. Abraham had children with Hagar and Keturah, both from African origins. Moses, who was chosen by God to lead Israelites from the captivity in Egypt to the promised land, married Zipporah, who was of Ethiopian descent. Jacob, the grandson of Abraham, had children with 2 handmaidens from African tribes. In the New Testament, the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke speaks of Simon of Cyrene, to which helped Jesus carry his cross. Cyrene sat in the modern-day Libya on the northern tip of Africa. While the Bible does not make mention of his race, many can only conclude that Simon may have been a dark-skinned man. Luke 23:26 says, "As the soldiers led him away, they seized Simon from Cyrene, who was on his way in from the country, and put the cross on him and made him carry it behind Jesus." The question that follows is, how and when did the world's largest religion take root in the second largest continent? To understand what Christianity means in Africa today, let's briefly look at the spread of the gospel in Africa across history. A common misconception is that Christianity was introduced or brought to Africa as a result of colonism. This is a false narrative. The truth of the matter is Christianity was in Africa well before colonism. The European conquest of Africa began in the 1880s. While historically proven, the spread of Christianity started over 1,000 years before. While many perceive Christianity as the white man's religion, with what is called a whitewashed Jesus, with predominant images of a European man with blonde hair and blue eyes, the reality is this is an extremely false depiction of Christianity and Jesus Christ, and this is why. The true origin of Christianity is not from Europe. Its origin is from ancient and modern history of the Middle East, which sits at the crossroad between Africa and Asia. While the race and what Jesus looked like while on earth was not mentioned in the Bible and should not be a determining factor of one's faith, given the biblical facts presented and the geographical locations, it would be ignorant not to state that he was an ordinary looking person born a brown-skinned Middle Eastern Jew. Isaiah 53:2 says, "He grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him." Revelation 1:14-15 says, "The hair on his head was like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like blazing fire. His feet were like bronze glowing in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of rushing waters." We know that Christianity as a religion originated in the early 1st century, 1000 to 451 Common Era, following the teaching of Jesus Christ of Nazareth and his disciples. The Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke agree so closely with one another that scholars studied them together in parallel. One of the earliest accounts of Christianity is from Philip the Evangelist, who was a preacher of the gospel, and as referenced in Acts 8:26-39, he preached and reportedly performed miracles in Samaria, and on the road to Jerusalem to Gaza met and baptized a prominent Ethiopian man. Many would say Philip was one of the first to introduce and spread the gospel within Africa. It's important to note that all 12 of the disciples, apostles of Jesus, went on to spreading his message and found the earliest Christian church. The other was Apostle Mark, also known as Mark the Evangelist, the author of the oldest gospel in the Christian Bible. Described as a very passionate man with high integrity, many are not aware that he was of Jewish origin, an African born in the city of Cyrene, in the western parts of Libya. Apostle Mark's real name is John Mark. His last name is actually Mark. This fact is mentioned in Acts 12:25 and again in chapter 15 of Acts. Mark traveled with St. Barnabas and St. Paul on many religious missions, during which it was him who founded the first Christian church in Africa, located in the city of Alexandria, Egypt. In the early years of the church, it became a significant influence on Christians' history in Africa. The Coptic Church is currently managed by the Roman Catholic Church. Because of the Apostle Mark, Christianity became well established in northern Africa and the Arabian Peninsula, building a strong and firm foundation in North Africa over the first few centuries. It became a region for Christian innovation, and through the years it moved deeper into the heart of the continent. The Coptic branch or Egyptian branch of Christianity took root and was well accepted largely amongst the lower classes, was largely practiced in secret, and became seen as a form of resistance against the pagan Roman Empire that was securing a hold over northern Africa. Christianity continued to flourish in North Africa, and what's now Ethiopia was then the powerful ancient Kingdom of Aksum, which drew in wealth and power from the international trade routes along the Red Sea. This wealthy African civilization arose during the 1st century Common Era and thrived for centuries, controlling a large territorial state and access to vast trade routes. In the 4th century, influenced by Bishop Frumentius under the rule of King Izana, Aksum was declared a Christian state. Bishop Frumentius was a Syrian apostle who through his preaching worked to spread Christianity throughout Ethiopia. He is credited for bringing Christianity to the Aksumite kingdom. He became the first bishop of Aksum and became the apostle of the nation because of his effectiveness in converting many people to faith. Aksum was the first sub-Saharan African kingdom to fully embrace Christianity, and it became a major center for the religion, and as well home to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. In retrospect, Christianity was an agent of great change throughout Africa. Missionaries were an important factor in connecting people, places, education, literacy, hope, and change. While Christianity continues to grow in Africa and around the world, there are now many Christian denominations to which the division can be argued is based off of geographical location, cultural values, worship styles, and interpretation of Jesus' teachings. As with other religions, not all Christians share the same level of commitment. Nonetheless, it is said that when compared to other parts of the world, Christians in Africa tend to pray and attend church at a much higher rate. While we're all not born in Africa and may not have visited, but it's important to remember that we're all a part of the African diaspora, or connected through Christianity. Let us seek to move beyond religion and forms of Christianity through biblical knowledge and greater understanding of our history, facts, and the underlying truth. Thank you for being open-minded, and please continue to seek and embrace your history, which we thrive to do on this platform. Please like if you found this video educational, and of course, subscribe and share. Until next time, peace King, peace Queen.